Hey, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Another week. What a big week,
Woo!
actually. A big couple weeks.
Big couple weeks for Orbiton.
Big couple
Crazy,
weeks for Orbiton.
crazy couple weeks for the world.
Yeah, I mean, like gold went from an all-time high, dropped down, and then now it's kind of bouncing up and down. It's moving up a bit today. It's definitely got some people are taking profits. It's a little bit of a pullback, but it's a good consolidation. So I don't think anybody's really worried if they're experienced in the space.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, we had a pretty killer couple weeks. Like we closed 285K worth of deals off of our new product offering. So very happy with the team. Yeah, very happy. Very happy. So the thing that we kind of had as a breakthrough is that we run these campaigns with influencers and we were actually able to track conversion, track clicks, and track all that data and utilize the AI chatbot to kind of find the temperature of the people coming through. And so it went successfully with our first client. And then from there, it kind of snowballed into a few other folks here as well. But yeah, we're quite happy with how it's going. The team's been working really hard, and like we have been working weekends and continue to work weekends. So, but no complaints. It's good to have this kind of problem. And then we also got two people coming on for our chatbot as well next week. So America's Gold and Silver, they're coming on. They're about the similar market cap as um, Vizsla Silver, and then Dakota Gold as well. They're coming on. Both these companies have had a killer year. You can kind of see both of them were hit with the consolidation, but still, year to date, phenomenal numbers. So we're very, very excited for next week. I think it's going to be another killer week for us.
We're gonna keep killing it.
Keep killing it, keep working, smile and
Mhm.
dial.
Yep.
Yeah, but what do you think about the whole like? Did you see
Yeah.
like what went down with Amazon?
Yes. Well, Amazon, yeah, being up 11% today, but then also Meta being like taking a huge hit. It was the eighth largest drop in history, and it's all like I mean, there's other factors, but there is a lot of talk about AI.
Yeah,
And it's funny because like Meta spends a ton on AI, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, bad decision, AI bubble, horrible." And then Amazon does, and they're like, "Absolutely." Obviously, obviously there's other factors, but just like the AI bubble, like we have to keep talking about it because it's so relevant. But it's just
yeah.
like you like open any social media and everyone's opinions are insanely contradicting. Um,
But I don't think they're wrong. Like, so here's my thing. When I was looking, if you look back at the .com bubble,
mhm.
we did have a bubble. But
Yeah,
were they fundamentally wrong about like the use of the internet? No.
yeah,
But
exactly.
in the short term, did they overshoot it? Absolutely. And that's what people do. We assume when things are good, they're going to continue to be good. When things are bad, they're going to continue to be bad. And so human nature creates these cycles. But when you think about it in the long term, like, yeah, probably, AI is going to stick around. And if you look down 30, 40 years in the future, it's going to be like, oh, it was obvious, of
Yeah,
course, you know?
yeah.
But in the short term, you have these fluctuations where, yeah, maybe this year it goes up, next year it goes down, and then in another 4 or 5 years it goes back up. But that's why VCs are investing so much into it because they have such a big time horizon where they'll get
Mhm.
their return in 10, 5, 10 years anyway. So they don't even care what the market does on a day-to-day basis. Actually, Mark and Andreessen Horowitz was doing a podcast, and he said on the podcast that they have no news allowed in their offices because
Mhm.
it makes people do like short-term thinking and poor decisions
Yeah.
because
I
they
mean, it makes sense.
panic.
Yeah. AI like is not going to just disappear. It's not even like relatively new. It's just new now that it's like everywhere and anyone can use it. There's so many contradicting opinions, but I understand
Hmm.
all of them.
Hmm.
And it's like, yeah, maybe there's a bubble, but maybe it'll just be a correction. Maybe it'll be
Yeah.
ups and downs. Like we don't know, but the reality is that AI is not just gonna like disappear off the earth.
No, no, but there is a big disconnection between like the fundamentals of
Mhm.
here's the profit margin, here's the growth rate, and then the growth that's going into the valuations of these things. Like there is 100% a disconnect, but that's just natural. That's how
Yeah.
things go. Actually, you know what's funny is like a lot of AI now is about like turning processes, automating processes. And I was listening to a talk by Dalton and Michael from they used to both be at Y Combinator. Dalton launched his own fund called Standard Capital now. It's
Mhm.
basically like Y Combinator, but for Series A investing. And so they were doing this podcast where they were talking about process versus chaos in startups. And I thought this
Mhm.
was really relevant because for us right now, we're in this massive growth phase. And
Yeah.
so, I'm working a lot and everybody on the team's working a lot. And when you're in this massive growth phase, it's pain, like it hurts. It's like the pain of growth. But sometimes you want to escape that pain by going into a process. But
Mhm.
the truth is, you don't have repeatable processes now. So basically,
Mhm.
what they were talking about is that a startup's job is to live in that domain of risk. Your job is risk. That's your job in the economy. And so when you try to go to process too quickly, what ends up happening is you are escaping to comfort. So you're there, you have this big, like, risky play that you're doing, a new product launch, new sales cycle, whatever it is, and then you're trying to manage that by escaping away. It's like when you have an exam the next day and you're just like,
Mhm.
I'm going to clean my room. You're like, I need to clean my room right now. But what
Yeah.
you should do is study.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what, like, gravitating towards process is for startups early on. Now,
Mhm.
sometimes the process is useful because then you don't need to think about it. You could just like, here's when we call them the first time, here's when the email follow up goes, here's when I
Yeah.
do the second call, and you have that cadence
Mhm.
implemented. But you can't do that until, like, you have to do the creative chaos part so that you can find the process. And
Yeah.
so for us, like, we had a period earlier this week where we were like, we should we should get like a process for onboarding these new marketing contracts that we do and all these influencers, and we should like process everything like with a system. And then we kind of went down the rabbit hole a little bit, and then we were like, well, in starting to build the process, we realized that we actually don't have a steady, consistent way of doing it yet
Yeah. Yeah.
because each client's different. They have different desires. They want different displays of their data and their reporting. And so then we need to adapt for each
Mhm.
one. And we want to because we want to improve the product. And so there is no like system for doing that. You just kind of got to work. It's hard,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's how it goes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like where was I? So why this was triggering in my mind was A, because of the growth, and B,
Mhm.
because of the whole AI boom,
Right.
and then C, it made me think about how I had this conversation with Gord Keep, and we were talking about how you don't really have a venture like an early stage public markets venture exchange in the States. So in Canada we have the TSXV, and so
Mhm.
Canada hosts, I think we might be number one, but it's pretty close with Australia. We have the most junior mining companies listed in Canada,
Mhm.
and the reason for that is because the States doesn't even have a market for that. And
Yeah.
so I was kind of talking to Gord about like your process. I was like, what's the process that you have for like picking these companies? What's the process you guys have for helping companies come into the Fiore group and taking them public? And he was like, well, we don't really have a process. It's just kind of like somebody finds a deal, they think it's interesting, then they
Mhm.
go and they bring it to the rest of the group and they're like, hey, this is our deal. And it made me like I immediately was like, we should like make a
Yeah.
process, right?
Yeah.
But it
Sometimes
doesn't
it's better
quite make
without.
sense.
Yeah. Sometimes it's better without.
Yeah,
Yeah, some things you just have to go through the hard way or the more chaotic way, um, instead of trying to make everything easier.
agreed, agreed. I think like in a day-to-day operations, but then on the other side, you have like being an IR. Like you sent me that article that came out
Yeah.
yesterday about IR and how it was
Yeah.
like basically they were like begging for automation and process.
Well, yeah, I mean, IR teams are already lean, and they do need help. There's a space for both, for the chaos and for the people, and then also for those systems, for the process. Um, the AI won't ever replace. Well, I mean, lots of people would disagree with me, but we're not saying it should just replace your IR team.
Yeah,
It They need it. There's
they need it.
with the AI boom, there's going to be pressure to keep up. There's going to be pressure to be like not falling behind. There's going to be pressure to stay on top of all of the ups and downs and the unpredictability of the markets, um, and then investors will also just be impatient in general,
Hmm.
especially with a bubble or even if it's not a bubble, just
Hmm.
ups and downs and the uncertainty. Investors will want clear, they won't just want like a quarterly report. They
Hmm.
will want they will want to know what's actually happening. They'll want to know the details. They'll want to know them fast and immediate.
Hmm.
Um, and IR teams they need something. They can
Well,
still move through this chaotic phase, but they need to keep up.
they need to keep up, and but here's the interesting thing. I think it's like whatever a new technology comes out, there's like layers
Mhm,
of innovation. The first
mhm,
one's like always like the very basic stuff, like I don't know,
mhm.
email, being
Yeah.
able to send an email. And so I feel like with AI, like large language models came out, and the first and most obvious use case is, for example, I want to, I have this massive document, give me the bullet points, like those kinds
Mhm,
of things, or come up with like 10 Q&A questions for an interview that the CEO is doing. And
mhm.
so that was like the first case. And that's still where I feel like even this article, that's kind of where it was focusing on. It was saying there's no, from their perspective, because they don't know we exist, they're like, there's no AI tools for IR. There
Yeah.
should be. But in the
Yes.
meantime, use this hodgepodge of what is,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That was essentially the essence of it.
Yeah.
And I agree, but I think where we're focusing on innovating is like ChatGPT will be ChatGPT. If you want to like draft a press release, if you want to like ideate, fuck,
Mhm.
great, use
Yeah.
that. But if you want to go deeper into like how can I feel like I have an assistant? So I
Yeah.
had a conversation this week with Vanessa Bogart. She's VP of IR for Argenta Silver, and we were talking about some of her main pain points. And one of them that she mentioned is like, I go to all these conferences, I get these business cards, and
Mhm.
then it takes me a few hours to put them all into the system.
Mhm.
Is that a groundbreaking, like, oh my God, like, we need like the most sophisticated LLM to do this? No. But if you save her a few hours after every conference,
Mhm.
that's huge. And then on top of that, she was saying like, putting in notes, like put updating notes and putting that into the system. Like sometimes I'm like going in between meetings or in between calls and like quickly entering that stuff, you
Mhm.
forget about it. And so if there was a way where you could have like a the same way you can talk to ChatGPT, you could like talk to your CRM system and be like, okay, so I met with John, I met with Frank, and I met with Ryan, and John was a great conversation. He wants a follow up meeting with the CEO. Remind me to do that next week. And Frank was a great meeting, but he's not interested for now. Circle back in like 2 months. And then Ryan, he's really keen. Like, I need to send him a package immediately. So I need a draft of that done. That's stuff that you would tell an assistant, and the assistant would, like, hopefully, if they're a good assistant, they would do it.
Mhm.
Um, but that stuff, that could be automated. Like you could
Yeah.
have an interface with Orbiton CRM where you talk to it
Yeah.
and it populates your notes
Yeah.
and it populates that draft email and you just approve or edit and you're done.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right? And
We were,
that's,
we were talking, I think on the first one about voice being,
yeah,
it's not there yet. Like
no,
you talk to ChatGPT?
I do. I have used it.
Of course you do. I, I don't know.
I do what I
But
preach.
it is I could see it being the future. Yeah, when things keep progressing, it'll be the next step. It'll be that people don't want to even type into ChatGPT. It'll be people like you that will talk into
Yeah.
their into their AI.
No,
But
seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, that article was really interesting. I sent it to you because it was exactly what we do. But
Yeah,
yeah, AI can do so much right now. The technology itself can, but people don't trust that just general, and they shouldn't, that just general chat GPT is going to help them specifically with investor relations,
yeah.
in specifically their company. They shouldn't trust that. That's
What's
fair.
what's cool too is from like a company standpoint, from our perspective, like
Mhm.
from on the one hand, we want to be like as big as we can possibly be. So you want to, on one hand, you want to build like some kind of product or service that really hooks people in, and they're like, this is unique. I like this. I need this. And then from our standpoint, it's easy to scale. That's our
Mhm.
chatbot for us. That's what the AI chatbot is. But at the end of the day, we want to like really implement AI across the board to
Mhm.
make the jobs of VPIR, IROs extremely streamlined and easy. And
Mhm.
so for us, it's like we get in the door and we want to discover new things. And
Yeah.
it's tempting to try and be like, oh, that's a simple idea. Like that's not a groundbreaking problem. Like we could probably do that. And then you just put it to the wayside because it's not as big as like you're like basically connecting an LLM to a CRM system and you're like conceptually that's simple rather than I don't know, like building a platform for influencers to connect with public companies, like a whole like
Mhm.
big project that sounds more exciting.
Yeah.
But people want that. Like people want like that's a problem that Vanessa has.
Yeah.
She wants a solution.
Yeah. And for us, specifically coming from IR and caring about IR, and like these are the people that we want to help. We have those tools, and we want to continue developing those tools, but the market and the AI boom will continue to grow, will continue to be um, this technology that's moving faster than people think that they can keep up with. Um, and you kind of do have to look for, if you're in a different business and you need to look for different services, but I think those like niche down, like you said, simple processes, but they're specifically designed for you, will be
Yeah.
the answer of bridging the gap of like, I can't just go on ChatGPT and it'll solve all my problems. No, it won't, because it's pretty generalized. If you use
There's
an AI that's specifically designed for you, there's so
yeah.
much that you could do.
Yeah, and actually this reminds me of a story that of like again from like a Dalton and Michael podcast because they talk to a lot of startups and Michael was telling a story where he's like there's this one startup that was innovating in AI for manufacturing. And
Mhm.
they had one company that was really open, really work with them, and they spent like their initial idea was like let's say to like make it easier to measure the analytics of the efficiency of the entire factory. That was their idea. They talked to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer actually had this other problem that they really wanted solved. And then the startup founders went back to Michael and they said, "Yeah, I mean, they didn't really want our thing, and they really we did like 3 months of research, and they have this like really painful problem that they have,
Mhm.
um, but it would take like 2 or 3 months to fix. It's kind of hard. I don't think it's like that much of a catchy topic, so we decided to go in a different direction." And Michael was like, "Isn't your whole job to fix the problem?" And they put it on a silver platter, and you're like, I don't think it's sexy enough. You know, it's like you just threw away.
Yeah.
Like you're
Yeah.
not. Then you're not a comp. Like what are you doing? You know. And so I
Mhm.
think like that's what we want to try and avoid. To not chase
Yeah.
what we
No,
think is the
to
hot
not
topic.
to provide like the more boring behind the scenes tasks that will actually improve um, your day to day life and the growth of the company. And
Yeah.
they might seem like small
Yeah. But if you're spending 2 hours a day doing or an hour a day doing like I used to
things.
send reports every
Yeah.
week. And so when you do those weekly reports, that takes time. You got to go through, you got to pull the data, you got to pull the list, you got to look at the notes, you got
Hmm.
to, and then put it all into like an email or a doc. And that process takes an hour. And so if you're doing that every week, that's a weekly pain point. If there was something that would just do that for me and I could do it on a daily basis and send daily updates, oh, come on. Like, I would
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
I'd pay like a big portion of my pay just to like
Yeah.
do that, you know? So that's the idea. Anyway, we'll see how this week goes. We've got a few campaigns, we've got some new product launches. Um, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Lots of things. Lots of things. Okay.